Yes, good morning and welcome. You're still watching Power Breakfast on Citizen TV. It's the time when we take a look at the headlines this morning. And we're privileged to have, and let me start with the lady, Senator Beatrice Elachi, Senate Majority Whip, also the aspirant for Dagoretti North Parliamentary seat. On my immediate left, we have Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor, Nairobi. And also extreme left, we have Muthomi Njuki, MP Chuka Igambangombe, also aspiring to be the next Tharaka Nithi Governor. Karibuni sana. Now, a quick look at the headlines. Of course, enough politics, especially what happened at the coast, and that cuts across both Jubilee and NASA, because yes, it was a big rally by the president, but also quite a number of defectors, especially from Wiper Party. I think that was the one that was hit the most. And we'll be looking at that headline in a short while, but let's start off with the doctors. If I could just have this Daily Nation. If we could just start off with the doctors' strike, and of course on the front page of the Daily Nation, now doctors resolve to go back to work. This is what it reads here. I've seen a different headline saying that the union has said that the strike is still on. So we're not sure what's happening. Doctors said yesterday they have, I'm reading directly from the Daily Nation, doctors said yesterday they have agreed with the government on all contentious issues and that they were ready to end the 99-day strike. This is a KMPDU, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union. Secretary General Omar Oluga, they are quoting him here, say they were hoping to iron out a few pending issues, after which they will call off the boycott in an hour, a day, or the day after. End of quote. So that's the headline there. On the back page, the same story, the doctors say strike close to end, but on the Standard there's a different headline saying that the union has insisted that the strike is still on. So we're still not sure. The union and those who had been tasked by the court to mediate in the talks, they're heading back to court today. Any hope? We know last week the president came out very angry, and after that, of course, doctors appear to beat a retreat. But are we hopeful? Are you hopeful that this thing will end anytime soon?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's already begun to end. What happened last Tuesday at the opening of the devolution conference, where the county governments and the national government came together and took a stand, I think was the most important step. You recall why there's been such a prolongment of this doctor strike is because the national government and the county governments were not talking. Even the CBA that has come out to be illegal was signed behind the governor's backs, while the entire health function is devolved. So when those two levels of governments are not talking as envisaged in the constitution, which says that these two governments must work together, they're independent but they must also collaborate, I think is what prolonged this. You recall even when the doctors went and visited the president at State House in Mombasa, not even a single governor was there, and we have the governor of Kisumu, Jack Ranguma, who heads the health committee. So I think that miscommunication between these two levels of governments is what could have prolonged this. But as soon as they got together and had their consultation in Naivasha, and they agreed on what to do and how to handle this doctor strike, and they had a joint press conference with the governors and the president and the cabinet secretary of health, and both of them had one position, that the doctors must go back to work, and if they don't, then they could be deregistered because their strike is illegal, and that gave the doctors no option. So they must go back to work. But they're now going back to work. I know the president announced that all the packs and everything, all the negotiations, all of that offer has been cancelled. I still support, first of all, that the doctors go to work so they can start treating people. But now, can the SRC begin to look at their grievances? If it's coming up with a new CBA, they come up with a new CBA based on international standards, based on living conditions in different areas where the doctors live, because a doctor in Mandera doesn't get the same incentive as a doctor in Nairobi. So I think for a lasting solution, they now need to go back to work, then come together with the county governments and begin to engage each county government, because they're all unique, and come up with a way where we can also motivate our doctors to go to work. Just because they've gone back to work doesn't mean they're happy and motivated.
They're not motivated.
And you don't want to be treated by a doctor who's not happy. Because
surely, yes, the deputy governor says that it was resolved after the county governments and the national government came together and came up with a lasting one decision. But that's what they understand. But from where most members of the public are seeing it, it's the president's anger. He came out one day very angry, banged the table, and the following day we saw doctors now saying, okay, probably we should beat a retreat. Is that what happened? Because, fine, the COG had been speaking for a while. They had met the president, even in Mombasa. Nothing happened. But when the president got angry is when we are seeing now, they were told, go back to work. The deal has been withdrawn from the table. Why? Apart from the president's anger, what else is motivating them to go back to work? Senator.
Well, first of all, I don't want to say the president's anger. You know, there's one thing we have really put into the president. We've put our president as if he's not human, where sometimes when you are tough, even as a parent, now you become angry, and when you are honest, you are weak. You know, that's what we have done to our president. When he was honest, he was told he's weak. Now when he's coming out and becoming the father of the nation, because that's where we have pushed him, that people can't listen, people can't hear until you become firm, now he's becoming angry. I don't think the president is angry. I just think now he's affirming to say, fine, if Kenyans believe you must be sort of a dictator in things to work, then I have to be that. But then having said that, for me, first of all, I want to thank the doctors. They realized that they went back, I mean, they were in charge. And you know, I always say a doctor is our second God on earth. And that's why God gave them the wisdom, I mean, that knowledge and the power to become a doctor to take care of human beings. I've always said we've had a problem. Yes, the doctors have to have a remuneration, but the problem was how they did, the procedures they used to come up with what they really wanted. And if they had to agree on that, today, the doctors today, Kenyans will have more respect to them. Let me tell you what the doctors are going to face. One, Kenyans, in fact, long ago walked and decided God is the one who made me, God heals. They went to God. They decided we don't know this thing called doctors anymore. The moment you even go back as doctors, everyone will be asking, is this a doctor who was on strike? So now we are going back to look for old doctors. So I want to tell my young doctors, one of the things you lost from Kenyans was your credibility.
Yes.
You have made this career now to become a career where people will not respect, and the way we respected doctors than anything else.
Yes.
Now people won't, because the moment I see you, I always believe this doctor of mine, when I walk in, when I look at you, you are the first one to tell me, go for urine test, go for stool test, go for I don't know, before you treat me.
Yes.
Meaning you have resolved me to be going on a computer. The moment you consult me once, I'll never come back to you. I'll go to a computer, I'll be Googling, and I'll be treating myself with my children.
And people are already doing that.
Yes. So they have pushed us to start looking for different solutions.
Yes.
And therefore, while we are talking of those CBAs, the people who are your clientele, and I want to tell them today, your clientele moved on, and they felt, do we really have good doctors? They are now even wishing, I'll go to Tanzania, those who are on the borders. Tanzania, I'm treated. The other ones, Uganda, they cross back.
Yes.
For us who are in Nairobi, we have Google. We will treat ourselves.
Yes. Baramodu Njuki, Deputy Governor, mentioned one thing, that yes, there could be a risk that you're sending back doctors to work because you threatened them to go back to work without giving them anything that they were asking for. Remember, the deal was withdrawn, and the president actually threatened them with sacking. Is it right just to threaten doctors to go back to work without resolving their issues? Because doesn't that present another risk? Because yes, they look like they're a bit scared now. The president got angry last week and said, you better go back to work or else. So yes, they'll go back to work. Their complaints, they've been complaining for the last 3 months. It meant a lot to them. What has changed? They still don't have a deal.
I don't think really the doctors were threatened as per se. Because to me, the strike was virtual. These doctors were working. But it depends on whether they were working. Because doctors on strike, they go to the streets to demonstrate in the morning, and in the afternoon they are very busy treating people in their clinics. The medical fraternity had been left to those people who would make money and those patients who can afford to be treated in private hospitals and the clinics. Because, well, it may the public facilities may have looked empty and neglected or deserted. If you go to the private clinics, there were queues because people were still seeking medical attention. And therefore, I don't think doctors really were interested in ending this strike, because they were making money in their clinics, and at the same time they were earning a salary, because at one time we didn't have their salary stopped. However, I am thinking 100 days was a very long time to be away from work, and even them, there were some were getting fatigued. If the president had come in strong, maybe in the first 2 months, or maybe the
should have actually probably gotten angry much earlier.
It would not even have, no, it would not have happened. It would have happened because it was still very hard.
Yeah.
I think it was at a point in life where they were looking for an exit out of this thing. You know, they were so forthcoming. They don't
even them they wanted the
yes. So I think the position by the president just made it easier for them to say, let's just go back to work. Now the question is, what's there in the future for this Salaries and Remuneration Commission and also the doctors? Is it a time bomb that is really waiting to happen at that time, maybe at a time when maybe Kenya is at its lowest, leave alone during elections time? It can come at a time when probably we are having something very huge we are holding as Kenya for the world, and then doctors just go on strike. So it must be resolved before we get those kind of levels.
Yes. And is there hope that there could actually be an amicable solution to this whole problem once and for all, as Bwana Njoki says? Because yes, there's a risk. You could force the doctors back to work, but it's just time. It will happen again.
Fred, negotiation is about satisfying two different people's needs or wants, and sometimes you can't get everything that you want. What really needs to happen is the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is one mandated by law to look at the wages and salaries of public officers. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in that area. Wages are not harmonized. People are not being paid for what they are producing. Some people are being rewarded for mediocre work. You see people who are not producing being promoted. You see the very hard workers not getting anywhere in life. And I think that's what's bringing this unrest. You must look a little deeper. Why is it that the doctors, then the lecturers, then the nurses, then the teachers, I mean, all these public officers are beginning to want to go to strike? I think that one, corruption has something to do with it. That public officers are seeing that, listen, we are working so hard, we are being underpaid, and yet we are seeing some government officials or tenderpreneurs who don't even have a skill like a doctor has, getting money from banks in gunias.
Hence the hashtag Lipa Kama Tenda.
Lipa Kama Tenda, that's where that came from. So I think this is it's a symptom that we have treated by the doctors going back to work. Now when everybody is at work and the country is not in a crisis, we need to sit down, county governments, the doctors, and Sarah Serem's team, and work this thing out once and for all.
Okay. I want us to move on to other headlines.
Before you move on, I think as we sit down, I would want them to sit not just with doctors, all the medics. We have the nurses, we have the clinical officers. Deal with it once and for all. Don't just deal again with one sector, and yet the ones who are doing 80% of the job,
clinical officers,
yes, you leave them, you will find yourself in the worst crisis. So for me, if you want to deal with the medical sector, I want to urge government and county governments, sit down once and for all and let us have a package from the clinical officer to their whole team.
Yes.
Yes.
Bwana Njuki, anything to add on that?
Well, Kenya must get money to pay workers, because it seems like everybody who works for this in this nation needs to be all remunerated. But you must admit there's a difference between those sectors that generate income and those who don't generate income. The sectors that generate income definitely have to pay their people better or their employees better. The challenge is, how can the government invest in sectors that are very critical to the lives of the people, yet they're not income generating sectors, like health, of course, like the education fraternity, because those are services we offer to the people so they can be able to have a better life. That is where the challenge is. You cannot compare that to insurance agency where they're making money every day and therefore they pay their people well.
Or agriculture.
Yes, that's where the difference is.
Okay. Well, as the headline reads, doctors resolved to go back to work. We do not know when. As we quoted here, the Secretary General of KMPDU saying that this issue, they could call off the boycott, quote, in an hour, a day, or the day after. So they still haven't resolved. They've resolved, but they're still not back to work. Today they're expected in court. We just have to wait and see what happens after that. On page 2 of the Daily Nation is a very interesting story, and this has to do with a lot of politicians I know. It's about the names. What's in a name? And one Ferdinand Waititu has now officially added the name Babayao to his list of official names. And it is in a Gazette notice published in the Kenya Gazette on Friday. Mr. Waititu declared that his full name would henceforth include Babayao as surname, an inclusion made after nearly 6 years as a nickname that he earned throwing stones at alleged land grabbers while as an MP from Embakasi. So he's now Ferdinand Ndungu Waititu Babayao officially. So the Deputy Governor, how big, what's in a name? We've seen people change their names, you know. For example, Kimani Wamatangi was not his original name. Yes. Mwangi Wairia was not his original name. It's come with the politics, and it does work for them. I don't know if Kanini Kega is his real name, or it's also Monica. So would you consider changing your name to something else? Maybe Mweke 047 or something.
You know, it's branding. Yeah, and politicians sometimes want to brand themselves so that they can get that name recognition, but people brand for different reasons. I think the first person who branded themselves like that was our founding president, Jomo Kenyatta. His name's Kamau Ngengi, and he branded himself as Jomo.
Sounded much better than
Kenyatta.
Kamau Ngengi.
Yeah, much better, and he branded it for different reasons, because there's something he was fighting for and so on and so forth. And that has gone on well generation to generation. But when you start branding yourself names like Babayao because of the next election, and you want to be recognized as what people know you as, to me it seems like you're not doing enough as a personal brand in terms of deed. So you need people to recognize you on the ballot, not because of what you're doing or what your virtues are, but because of your name. And that's a little selfish, because yes, it's cool for Waititu to be called Babayao, but is it cool for his wife to be called Mrs. Babayao? Or when he gets a baby, I mean, you go to class and you're called Fred Babayao. I mean, sometimes you have to look a little further than the election.
Because yes, Jomo Kenyatta, the family as a doctor, it's a Kenyatta name now. It becomes your real name. Mwangi Wairia, we do not know him by any other name. So is Sonko now. People have forgotten that his name is Gideon Mbuvi. Sonko is now what people know him as. Should we take them seriously? Should we take Babayao more seriously?
Well, in the political field, you know, Waititu did not give himself that name. It was people who kept on until it became now the household name, where they call him Babayao. So for me, if that's how they see him, then it's okay to use the name. Yes, in politics. I'll agree with Deputy Governor, not in school, but even in school. Because that's how people, I mean, like the children of Senator Sonko, definitely in school now, they're
known as Sonko.
Sonko, yeah. Yes. So sometimes it might get even to that level without
because
you knowing.
Serious. Yeah. You need to choose the name carefully, because
and I know he has very, very good children, bright children, and they are their teens. So definitely, even them, they always say, you know, your dad Babayao. What else would they do? So, and Mwangi Wairia, like today, you won't know it because of Wairia.
Yes.
So people even in school will not even know it's a nickname. Yes. By the way.
Or Wamatangi.
Yeah.
And it's become.
But I don't know, Magerer, which name is Magerer's name now?
Magerer, I think the name, he's officially Langat Jonathan Kiprono, but now he's Magerer Langat Jonathan Kiprono, so I guess Magerer.
Magerer was the nickname, you see? Even us, we never used to know. Yet I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
I know you've dropped one of your name, you don't use it quite a lot. Is that a form of branding as well?
Well, which name have I dropped?
Well, if I Google your name, of course, I see another name.
Yeah, 3 names is a bit bulky for me, so I use my two names, which are basically traditional names, because it's more, it connects me to the community.
Yes, because even sometimes when you use your Christian name in politics, sometimes when you're probably in Tharaka Nithi and people don't want to identify you as John or Peter or James, does it work for you when you adopt now names that are recognizable from you?
And I want you just slightly disagree with my friend about what the name will mean later, because really what's in a name, that justifies the means. You know, the ballot paper in elections is where the rubber meets the road. If there's a small confusion that can make the person who wants to vote for you not be able to identify you on the ballot box, then you're cooked. So if I'm able to have the name that they know me by, even if it's by my slogan, I would really have no choice but to use that name. And that is why what you're seeing here is a tip of the iceberg. The deed polls that have been done in the recent last 3 months, it's too much, even for MCAs and most of the seats where people adopt very crazy names. But at the end of the day, really what is justified is ensuring that you're identified at the ballot paper.
It's no longer enough to be called John Kamau or James Otieno.
What's in a name, really? What if it can't deliver for you? What's in a name? You can have a very cool name, but if it doesn't deliver, then it's useless.
And politically, the names are many. Even Raila Odinga himself is known as Baba. Affectionately, if I may say so. Even Nelson Mandela was known as Madiba. Madiba is not his real name. So it could work. And have there been instances where such names work negatively for a politician, that you have a nickname that doesn't really work for you?
I think so. I just don't have anything in mind. But yes, there are some who are given nicknames.
Like the way you said Babayao does not sound really nice. You see, Madiba sounds nice. You see, Kenyatta sounded nice.
For me, I'm a long-term kind of guy. So what I try to do in life, I look at what impact will it have 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Babayao might not be sounding very nice.
If Rachel Shebesh changes her name to Rachel Manzi Wanai, then her children have to be called the last name of Manzi Wanai. I mean, now you go for an interview, you're an investment banker, you've gone for an interview at the World Bank, and your name is Beatrice Manzi Wanai. You can even lose your child can even lose their job because you only wanted to be elected. You are thinking that it's only about a ballot box. So sometimes you have to think about future generations, not just about yourself.
And some of these people who have changed their names as one, like an Kabete MP aspirant is called John Gidua. Now it's called Gidua wa Mashukuru. Because to reflect that he's working, his work has been mainly making donations to schools. So Gidua wa Mashukuru. Now Kimani wa Matangi, Mwangi wa Iria. We've had another one, Zedekiah Kiprop Bundotich. Now is known as Buzeki, and is running for governor of Uasin Gishu.
But you know, Buzeki is his brand, so for him, I don't think it's really now like Babayao. It's since he has been a businessman for many years, and we've known him as Buzeki. So for him, I will. It's a brand of. Which one?
Adopt a name.
No, I have no name. I think Elachi is very good, and it sounds very unique.
Incidentally, this brand,
Elachi is okay.
If you went through most phone books of most people, they have saved names
very uniquely.
What these people do. You find Mwangi wa Makara, you find John Mokoteni, all those kind of things. So the brand now is extending it to changing the name officially. Otherwise, that is what most Kenyans go by. But of course, the one of Kenyatta, I don't know whether you mean, you know that it meant it's the light, the lamp of Kenya, the car, Kenya. It means that light.
I've just learned something new. I have no idea. But most people do not even know that Jomo Kenyatta was not his real name, or was not his original name.
But you can see, as Luyas, we have unique ones. Like now, my leader, Mudavadi, Madividi.
Madividi. Halwale wa Mabuls.
Mabuls.
Okay, let's now take a look at other headlines. And I'm informed we need to take a break. When we come back now, we take a look at what happened in Mombasa yesterday. A very big rally, if you see the photo on the front page of the Daily Nation, and that was at the Tononoka grounds yesterday. That after the break.